Life had learned to sense. The world was no longer only outside. It could now leave an inward trace. That was a profound threshold. But sensation is not yet awareness. To sense is one thing. To become aware is another. And to reflect on that awareness is deeper still. At some point, the inner world becomes rich enough not only to receive experience, but to hold it, organize it, relate it, question it, and turn it back upon itself. That is where awareness begins. That is where reflection begins. And that is where the universe, through life, starts to know itself. In the previous stage, we saw how life begins to sense the world inwardly. That meant the world was no longer only outside. It could now take primitive form within the organism. That was the beginning of inner contact. But awareness is deeper than sensation. Because sensation may still be scattered, fragmented, momentary, local. A being may register the world without yet gathering that registration into a fuller inward presence. Awareness begins when inner life becomes more unified. When experience is not only occurring, but is more deeply present. Within the one who lives it. This is a subtle threshold. Quiet. Easy to overlook. And yet, it changes the meaning of existence. Because now life is moving from mere inward trace toward inward presence. For awareness to deepen, inner life must become more integrated. Signals must not only occur, they must begin to relate. Experiences must not only happen, they must begin to connect. Patterns must not only arise, they must begin to endure. To coordinate, to to shape a richer continuity within. This is one of the great hidden thresholds in the story of life. Because awareness does not appear suddenly as a complete miracle, it is built. Built from gathered inner events, built from coordination, built from continuity, built from the deepening relation between sensation, memory-like holding, pattern, and inner organization. Without this integration, experience may remain scattered. But with it, something more stable becomes possible. Now there can be a more continuous interior field. Now inward life can begin to gather itself. And this is essential. Because without inner continuity, there can be no stable awareness.
Awareness begins when experience is no longer only received, but becomes more inwardly present in an organized way. This does not yet mean the full richness of human consciousness. It does not yet mean language, abstraction, philosophy, or the explicit sense of self that later human beings can develop. But it does mean that life is becoming more inwardly gathered. Now the organism is not only affected by the world, it is beginning to stand in a more unified relation to what it senses. This is the early birth of awareness, a presence within experience, a coherence within inward life. A more stable interior relation between organism and world. This matters deeply, because once awareness begins, experience is no longer only something that passes through life. It becomes something that life begins to hold more fully. That is a profound shift, because now inward life has gained depth. And yet, even awareness is not the end of the story, because reflection is another threshold. Awareness allows life to be more present to experience. Reflection allows awareness to turn back upon itself. That is a radical step. Reflection begins when awareness can in some way notice its own contents. Compare them, remember them more deeply. Question them or examine them. This does not need to appear all at once in its highest form. But once this turning inward begins, mind becomes something new. Because now experience is not only lived, it can be related to. Worked with, interpreted. organized into memory, image, meaning, story, and thought. This is one of the greatest thresholds in the evolution of energy, because now existence, through life, can do something extraordinary. It can become an object of its own attention. Reflection matters because it transforms what existence can become. Without reflection, life may sense, respond, survive, and even develop forms of awareness. But with reflection, something far deeper opens. Now a being can ask, it can compare, it can imagine, it can remember with greater depth, it can anticipate, it can interpret, it can search for patterns not only in the world, but in its own experience of the world. And this changes everything. Because with reflection, mind does not only receive reality, it begins to work with reality inwardly. This is where meaning deepens. This is where selfhood becomes possible in a richer way. This is where responsibility begins to matter with new seriousness. This is where science, philosophy, ethics, art, story, religion, doubt, and wonder become possible in their mature forms. Reflection is not a small addition. It is one of the greatest expansions of what existence can do. This is where humanity enters with its deepest significance. Humanity is not merely another arrangement of matter, not merely another biological organism, not merely another responding or sensing being. Humanity is the stage at which the universe becomes powerfully reflective. Through humanity, existence can ask, what is the universe? What is life? What is mind? What is truth? What is meaning? What is good? Who are we? What should we become? These questions matter because they reveal one of the deepest truths of the whole EOE journey. The universe is no longer only unfolding. It is beginning to understand that it is unfolding. That is extraordinary. Because through reflective human awareness, existence becomes capable of self-examination. And with that, its future changes again. This is why science and philosophy matter so much in the evolution of energy journey. Science is one way the universe studies itself, through human intelligence. Philosophy is one way the universe reflects on its own meaning, its own being, its own logic, its own purpose, through human thought. Art is one way it feels and expresses itself. Ethics is one way it asks how life should live. History is one way it remembers. Imagination is one way it reaches toward what does not yet exist. Reflection opens all of these. That is why the final stage is not only about humans as bodies, it is about humanity as reflective possibility. The possibility that existence can become conscious of itself, responsible for itself, and perhaps even capable of guiding itself more wisely. This is why awareness and reflection carry both dignity and seriousness, because with them, power is no longer blind. It can become answerable.
But reflection is not only a gift. It is also a burden. Because once a being can reflect, it can doubt, it can fear, it can divide itself inwardly, it can become confused, it can misunderstand the world, it can misunderstand itself, it can harm knowingly. Reflection opens both danger and dignity, and that is why humanity stands at such a serious threshold. Because with reflection, the future is no longer only something that happens. It becomes something that can be influenced knowingly. This is both beautiful and demanding, because reflective life must now ask not only what is true, but also what should we do? How should we live? What kind of world should we build? What responsibility comes with awareness? So reflection does not only deepen knowledge, it deepens responsibility. This may be the deepest meaning of the entire evolution of energy journey. From unity came division. From division came difference. From difference came change. From change came waves. From waves came particles. From particles came matter. From matter came worlds. From worlds came life. From life came response. From response came sensation. And from sensation came awareness and reflection. Now the universe can ask about itself. Now life can ask why it exists. Now mind can search for truth. Now humanity can wonder what it should become. This is not the end of existence, but it is a great culmination. Because here, the universe becomes not only real, not only alive, not only inward, but self-questioning. That changes everything. Because self-questioning existence is existence with destiny in view. Now the future can become a matter of understanding, responsibility, and choice. This culmination matters because it reveals what the whole journey has been preparing. The universe did not begin with reflection. It began with unity.
Then came division, difference, change, waves, particles, matter, worlds, life, response, sensation. Each stage prepared the next. Each threshold opened a deeper possibility. And now, in awareness and reflection, those possibilities gather into something astonishing. Existence becomes capable of self-understanding. That does not mean the journey is complete. It means that the journey has become visible to itself. And that is perhaps one of the greatest events the universe can contain. Because now, the universe is not only becoming, it can know that it is becoming.
And this brings the EOE journey to its deepest human point. If humanity is the stage at which the universe becomes capable of reflection, then the next question no longer belongs only to theory. It belongs to us. What will we do with awareness? What will we do with knowledge? What will we do with reflection? Will we use it to divide endlessly, to dominate blindly, to destroy irresponsibly? Or will we use it to understand more deeply, to care more wisely, to guide life toward greater truth, greater dignity, greater harmony? This is where the EOE journey becomes not only a story about the universe, it becomes a question for humanity. Because if the universe has become capable of self-understanding through us, then what we do matters immensely. We are not outside this journey. We are one of its most serious expressions.
So the story arrives at one of its deepest points. From worlds came life. From life came response. From response came sensation. And from sensation came awareness and reflection. The universe has moved from outer existence to inner contact, to the first possibility of self-understanding. And in humanity, that possibility becomes profound. Because now, existence can study itself, question itself, care for itself, and perhaps even guide itself toward a better future. This is evolution of energy. And now, the question is ours.